There was a story on NTV last night. And what was it saying?
Basically, the government has remained quite silent about the Kenyan woman who was convicted of drug trafficking in Vietnam, and she was scheduled to be executed last evening in the southeast nation. But it's still not clear whether the last gasp diplomatic efforts to save the life of Margaret Nduta have borne fruit. Now, the silence, I think, is a little bit worrying. It could be that there's diplomacy going on, and that's why we're silent, not hearing anything. It could be that we've abandoned Margaret, but let's listen into the story and see exactly what happened. So this is Margaret. Hey, and I'm assuming those are
that's Nduta herself now, and when she was arrested, right?
The fact that she's facing execution, and we've gotten one statement from government, but no update since then, is a little bit worrying. I think we should do our very best to get her back home to serve a sentence here.
Why?
Why not?
She broke whose law? She broke Vietnam's law. And she was convicted, found guilty, convicted, and sentenced in accordance with Vietnam's law. So are we saying that we should then go and say, okay, break law? So if a Vietnamese came to Kenya and murdered somebody in Kenya, would we be okay if we heard that the government of Kenya has handed over this big suspect who came and murdered somebody in Kenya to the Vietnamese to go and be jailed in Vietnam?
The death sentence is a very polarizing and emotive. This conversation will go back and forth. Because on the one hand, to Mariam's point, there's the element of, first of all, it's such an extreme. It's such an extreme, and I think that shock factor is what is bringing out all these different emotions. So some people are arguing like Erica's, which is she broke the law. And in their country, if you break the law, it's a death sentence, especially drugs. To Mariam's point, it's that there's almost that sense of empathy, not because you're condoning what somebody did, but because you want to be able to have them have their day in court locally, just because of those extremities of, you guys are just going to go ahead and kill this person. We want her back home. Let's try her here. Let's her even get a life sentence. It's polarizing. I don't know if there's right or wrong. What we do know is the law is the law, and it's not supposed to sound dismissive or simplistic. It is what it is. So in very many Asian countries, they don't think twice. We've seen it happen in Indonesia and in Malaysia and in Vietnam. But I think because it's so close to home, because people feel that maybe her background and her circumstances led her to make a careless decision, please can we at least have her come back? And she will still learn her lesson, but we don't want her to die out there. And then we're just never able to have any closure with her. So it's polarizing. It's very divisive, very emotive. I don't know.
It really is. I think I agree. The death sentence part is what's extreme, like she said.
I'm hearing
if she
what
was serving a
saying.
life sentence
in
Vietnam.
If she had been sentenced to life, to 30 years, to 50 years, to 60 years in jail, people would not be pushing for her release, for her to come home.
They would, I think they still would not ask, but they would say, let her serve it here.
There are very many Kenyans in foreign jails on drugs alone. Many. There are many on other charges. There's a Kenyan in the Middle East who is facing death. And this is because of what happened. What happened was they were working with somebody and they had a scuffle and the other person died. And this person has been facing death. And the mother, who's a journalist, has been trying to just raise, and even the government, the Kenyan embassy in Saudi Arabia, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they've been working, just trying to talk to the authorities in Saudi Arabia. Just defer this death sentence. Can the widow of the guy who died, who was a colleague of this guy and a friend, just say, it's okay, she says, you guys have to pay me, I don't know, 120 million shillings.
Wow.
It's just such back and forth issues.
Right.
So what I'm saying is here, and I feel for Nduta, especially her twin sister and her family. I feel it. And I see the push on social media. I'm not sure what the push is on social media. Are we saying that if this death sentence was deferred, people would be all right? Or are we saying that whatever crime she committed, let her come back home? And therefore, are we expanding this and saying that if a Kenyan is found guilty of a crime in any jurisdiction in the world, our government should be going and pursuing that they come and be tried in Kenyan law? And are we ready to reciprocate? The question is, are we ready to reciprocate?
Yeah.
Given that we have also foreign nationals in our prisons right now, on drug charges as well.
We
have quite a few. We have quite a few, at least I know in Lang'ata Women's Prison, there's quite a number, and that the majority of the foreign nationals who are in prison in Kenya, it's because of drug charges. So it goes both ways. I think people just tend to be extend a lot of empathy if it's somebody from home. Right.
I think it's just, for me, let's deal with this sentence first.
Yep.
Let's get it commuted.
And
then one thing at a time, Then we figure it out from there. I don't know, should every Kenyan national found guilty be repatriated? I can't answer. But for Nduta, I'm just like, could we not hang her? Let's start from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.